be carrying an outbuilding, as you can see right there. The big, obviously sides of that were caught by the wind, a big wind-related incident there. Some people, of course, said they didn't mind the rain in the area. Now, of course, from rain to snow, this is something you need if you want to run a ski resort. The Tahoe Ski Resorts say they're getting prepared as the winter season gets a little closer. Small amount of rain and snow fell over the ski area yesterday, and while that wasn't anywhere close to what will be needed, the resort workers say the weather is headed in the right direction. Crews have started to double-check the equipment, like chairlifts and rental gear, and they're hoping it's cold enough to start making snow as soon as next week. So skiers out there are getting the itch for sure. Now, if you've checked social media at any point in the last little while, I'm sure you've seen quite a few pictures of the moon. The full beaver moon was also the super moon. It shone brightly in the night skies over the beaches. But the downside with these super moons are something called the biggest king tides of the year. And those tides are bringing some rough surf and beach erosion. Our sister station, FOX 35, and their storm team brought us this report. Lauren Branchard has more.
We saw this at the beginning of October, and now we're seeing it at the beginning of November. And that is all due to a series of supermoons that are impacting the tides that we're going to be seeing a lot of erosion with here across the east coast of Florida. So tonight is a supermoon. This is actually the largest supermoon that we've had since 2019, and this is what's going to bring in the highest tides of 2025. So how high are these tides actually going to get, and what causes these tides? Supermoon is actually caused by the closeness of the moon's orbit into Earth. So that's actually called a perigee, and that's over 220,000 miles away. That sounds very far, but astronomically, that's actually very close. And again, this is the closest supermoon that we've had since 2019. So you can expect these waves are going to be huge, and the tide is going to come up very far as we take a look at tomorrow. Now, speaking of tomorrow, that's when we're expecting the highest tide of 2025. And those waves and that tide can come up to about 7 feet is what we're expecting. Flashback to October, when not only we were feeling the erosion from Imelda, but we were also seeing another episode of those king tides. Those waves came up to about 5 feet, and that tide came up to about 5 feet. So we're going to be seeing those tides about 2 feet higher compared to last month, to what we're going to be seeing taking a look at tomorrow. So let's actually put some numbers to this as we do take a look at the tides that we're going to be expecting. Taking a look at just the next couple of hours, really the pinpoint times that you need to be concerned about: 8 a.m. tomorrow, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So right now we're seeing those tides about 3 feet high. They're going to rise to about 4 feet high as we head through the overnight tonight and get into about the mid 5-foot range during our high tides tomorrow at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. as we do take a look at tomorrow. And you can see just how the tide is just continuing to hammer across the coast. Actually, if we pan just a little bit further to this way, you can see the restoration efforts that we've been trying to really put in as we've just been seeing all of these waves continue to slam the coast of Ponce Inlet, which is where we are now. And we're going to continue to monitor that and the restoration efforts after the king tides come in as we take a look there tomorrow. From Ponce Inlet, I'm meteorologist Laurel Blanchard.
A fascinating story there. We appreciate our sister station Fox 35 and our fellow meteorologists on their storm team there digging so deeply into that. I think it's a really important story to be focused on. Of course, a lot of people from our area enjoy going down to those amazing beaches, so those king tides and things that we are learning so much more about these days are an important area to keep focused on. Now, we want to focus on our area too, right? We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off with a few area cameras which look pretty darn good actually at the moment. Just some thin clouds across Brown Deer, Kenosha, Milwaukee. Our Newburgh cam looks pretty good right there. High pressure is still the big player weather-wise, but there is a low that's starting to move our way, and you do see some of the precipitation associated with that low pressure system. All the snow on this is up north. That's not going to be today or tonight or tomorrow. That's a weekend thing for us. This is all going to move north of us. And then this next system, which will come out of the west, really deep in over parts of Kansas and Missouri and then head our way. That's the big player for the weekend. They've got a lot going on. They've still got some flooding issues along the coast, a lot of moisture there. They've got some high wind warnings to deal with as far as areas like Wyoming are concerned. But for us, it's a breezy day, sure, but it's a southerly wind and it's a warming wind. And again, it's enough to keep any of that precipitation at bay for now. So if we look at Sky Vision Plus here, show you tomorrow's weather today, you'll be able to see some of that warming wind from the south throughout the course of the day today. And there are the showers kind of filling in as we work our way on into the night tonight and into tomorrow. I don't think we'll see much until after 9 or 10. And then it's out of here pretty quickly, which is good because even sometimes a very light rainfall during that morning commute can cause some headaches. So to get it wrapped up by 4 or 5 o'clock gives us some breathing room there. Shouldn't be impactful as far as the rain goes. And then it's actually a pretty decent day. Most of Friday is pretty nice. Gets a little cloudier late in the day, maybe a Friday evening sprinkle, but then nothing right through until Saturday afternoon, and then that system moves through. Now, the track on this is going to be vital. The farther south this low tracks, the less it's going to hit our area. Then as it moves farther north and east, it might wrap in with some lake effect snow. But the different forecast models are looking at this very differently. One is hitting a little harder, one's hitting a little lighter, one has an extensive period of lake effect snow, the other one not so much. And that's why we don't focus on just one forecast model. In fact, here at Fox 6, we are privileged to have one more than anybody else in the neighborhood because we have access to the Fox Weather model, which is an exclusive forecast model built just for Fox Weather and, of course, the Fox stations. Now, there's a good example of the two differences right now. You've got the GFS is all snow and some pretty heavy snow in the southeast. Then you've got the European model with that mix, that wintry mix and that mess. And the truth will likely end up somewhere in the middle. Rarely is one forecast model spot on and everybody else is out to lunch. It usually ends up being kind of in the middle somewhere. So, of course, we'll keep watching that as we continue to watch the development of this low. Now, as we look at our chances here for precipitation, yes, we're focused on that snow, and of course we are. It might be our first one of the season, but more importantly, starting tonight, we get into a more active pattern. So each one of the next 4 days has at least a chance of precipitation. It's mostly going to be rain tonight and Friday morning, and then we do get that wintry mix through Saturday and Sunday, but it's a much more active pattern than what we have had. Temperatures right now certainly would not support any kind of snow. This is pretty good stuff. We're going to be in the mid-50s, maybe some upper 50s toward the state line and down toward the Chicago area. Not quite the heat that got farther south. We've got 83 today in Dallas for a high, 85 over in Phoenix. Florida should be in the 80s, although 84 in Miami isn't too crazy, right? Nor is 85 in Phoenix. But that's where all the warmth is right now. And even our area isn't too chilly. The colder air does eventually make a breakthrough, though, as we get into the weekend, and it does look like it hangs around beyond that. In fact, we might get some pretty chilly days. If you look at our high temperature trend here, yeah, a couple mild ones up front, but there's that dip going 10-15 degrees below average through Sunday and Monday, obviously dipping on Saturday and staying cooler on Tuesday. But this is quite the bottom out here for a couple of days, only to rebound right back the other way. That 8 to 14 day temperature trend, yep, still on the above average side. I feel like it's been above average almost every time we checked it, which leads me to a very clear explanation here, in that you cannot look at this and expect that every single day in the next 8 to 14 days will be above average. This is an average of the averages, if you will, because we're looking at days 8 through 14 and saying what that stretch is going to be like. So yeah, there might be 1 or 2 cold ones in here too, but overall it looks like an above average stretch. Now, if you look at our low temperature trends, that might even catch your eye more so. Yeah, a good long stretch there in the 20s, low 20s at that. And that's for Milwaukee. Some of the inland areas might be even chillier than that. Oh, look at that beautiful picture. Got to give Tom out in Summit, Wisconsin, another shout out for that one from the Alto Cumulus Undulatus that we had the other day. Very pretty picture indeed, so we appreciate that. All right, so with temps dipping, as we were just talking about, Fox 6 is getting ready, of course, to keep kids warm, one coat at a time, as we do every year at this time, or at least as we have done for the last 41 years. It's the 41st annual Fox 6 Codes for Kids Drive. And we need your help. You see that QR code on your screen? Scan that with a smartphone or your tablet or whatever you got, and you can safely donate money that will be used to buy brand new coats for the campaign. And they can really stretch that dollar, so everything you give will definitely be put to good use. But if you have a new or maybe a gently loved winter coat that you'd like to donate, you can do that too. Drop them off at Steinhoffels, Landmark Credit Union, or Salvation Army through December 7th. For more information about coats for kids, go to our website, fox6now.com. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Tom Wachs and see if he enjoyed that extra hour of sleep we got last weekend. We talk changing clocks next. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts right here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 YouTube channel. We appreciate you sticking with us. All right, let's go check in with Tom. Yeah, we always like to have a little live chat every Thursday. Oh, you got the fire table going. Did we get like a 2-for-1 discount on that? One for the weather deck, one for your backyard?
Right? I know. Yeah, exactly, right? I think I need to reach out for that, right?
No, I think we should, right?
How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you and good to chat. Let's talk a bit about what happened last weekend. Everybody, of course, got an extra hour of sleep, which seems on its surface like a wonderful thing. But time change, it doesn't always work out that well for everybody health-wise, and it has impacts on the weather world as well.
Yeah, you're right. And, again, the early sunsets, right? I mean, that's, it's tough now when the sun's setting well before 5 o'clock, before 4:40, right? But in the weather world, Rob, it's so interesting because the time change actually affects computer model data. You were just talking about our chance for snow over the weekend and the various computer models, right? Well, let's dig into this a little bit more because the time change actually impacts the time that we get computer model data. So as we dig into this, we actually look at what is called Greenwich Mean Time, or GMT. That is sort of the standard time around the world that we all use. And let me explain what that is. So that is the time at the prime meridian, which is it runs right through Greenwich, England. And so we use this Greenwich Mean Time, or Zulu time, to kind of keep the whole world on track, right, when it comes to when computer models run. So as we get a little more specific with this, it's at 0Z, which is Zulu time, 6Z, 12Z, and 18Z, which is when computer models, the traditional computer models, are run. So what does that mean? Well, at standard time, which is what we're on now, that is 0Z is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So 6Z is midnight, 12Z is 6 a.m., 18Z is noon. So that's when the computer models are run. Now, it takes several hours for those computer models to actually run its course and complete, because what those are a bunch of mathematical equations simulating the atmosphere, running through big supercomputers, and then spitting out various solutions. So it takes a few hours from that initiation time to then finish. So in practical use, what this means, kind of the bottom line here, is during standard time, we actually get computer model data coming in an hour earlier. And that's really important, because when we're talking about, let's say, the morning show.
Oh, seem to have lost the audio there. We'll try to get it back here in a second. But what Tom was pointing out is that, because we have, a 24-hour news operation, essentially, that when we get our data at different times, it can impact, what's available to us for both the AM and PM. I think we've got the audio back up there. I think I paraphrased it fairly well. But finish your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, no, I think you raised that perfectly well, which is, that data comes in an hour earlier. So instead of 10 o'clock at night, for example, it comes in at 9 o'clock at night. And as a result, we're able to analyze that data for, as you mentioned, Rob, this weekend. We're able to look at the snow potential an hour earlier, which allows us to look at that suite of model data and get that out to viewers, during our late evening newscasts a bit earlier. And that can be a huge deal when we're talking about lake effect snow, for example, right? Which we may have this weekend. We really need to start looking at the intricacies, and that model data coming in when it does can really influence a forecast.
Yeah, it just gives us a little bit more of a heads up, and this, the sooner we get the information, the sooner we can act on the information. So it is kind of a benefit to our forecasting in that it does get us, that 1 hour advantage now that we've adjusted the clocks. Of course, the downside to all of that, as you said, is the very early sunsets. But if you're on my end of the equation when it comes to our shifts, I'm okay with it being dark when I go to bed at like 7 o'clock.
Right? Oh, 100%. In fact, I can remember when I used to work the morning shift, and as you know, Rob, like the tough time is in the middle of summer, right?
Right.
Because that sunset's close to 9 o'clock. Kids are outside playing, lawns are mowing, barbecues are going, and it's really hard to sleep, right?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so, yes, I mean, winter time, as we get towards winter, it's great to have that dark. The sunset much earlier.
Right, and easier to get young kids to bed too, I suppose. I don't know if you have that issue with Charlotte.
Yes,
but
well,
sometimes.
Yeah, and it is funny because when kids are little, you can kind of trick them a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Too, right? Because they don't understand.
It's dark.
Yeah,
it's midnight.
They
it's
don't
so
understand
late.
the time change.
But you know what?
Right,
then you get
exactly.
older and you're convinced it's midnight too.
No, it's so interesting. Well, and I'll tell you. So, Rob, I was on vacation last week in the Eastern Caribbean, which that's going to be a topic next week. Of course, I was thinking about Wisconsin weather experts on vacation, and so we're going to be talking a lot about different, watercolor and things like that. And it was so interesting because out there they didn't switch time zones, so they didn't switch the clocks during the time change, which was so interesting because suddenly we became 2 hours behind Milwaukee, right? So everyone else changed,
for a
but
brief
we
period.
didn't. And something else interesting, they don't celebrate Halloween. How weird is that?
I didn't know that.
We went through Halloween. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So there were no pumpkins. There was no happy Halloween. There was none of it. No trick-or-treating,
Well,
right?
You go. But that's what travel does. It broadens the mind, right?
It does. It does.
Go.
But no, next week I think will be interesting. We're going to talk about different, why it's called the Leeward Islands and things like that. I learned a whole lot being out there. But yeah, Rob. I mean, when it comes to time change, there are some upsides, and that certainly includes weather model data coming in an hour earlier.
All right, there you go. Thank you very much, Tom. Very interesting conversation. We look forward to seeing the travel pics when you get back. Now, of course, we've got a lot going on here to talk about weather-wise. Particularly this time of year, because it is the gales of November, and that is literally what I want to talk about next, because we know the Edmund Fitzgerald story, right? The history has been written, it's been studied for decades, and of course on November 10th, 1975, the ship sank in Lake Superior. To commemorate 5 decades since that tragedy, Fox 6 has produced an all-new documentary that dives deep into the history of the ship and the legacy of this Midwest legend. Here's a sneak peek.
People hear the word lake and they think of a more placid and pristine lake. Lake Superior is not that kind of lake. It is an angry, turbulent body of water with high waves and high winds.
There are 44 wrecks that took place throughout history on November 10th. It's kind of an indicator that there is something in meteorology that is going on that tends to happen in that time frame of early November.
When you boil water at home, what happens? Right? It starts bubbling up. Why? It starts escaping. Right? The warm water wants to join the cold air. The steam starts coming up. Those are the waves.
And that creates a really unstable environment that can really whip up storms into something monstrous.
All right, if you're intrigued, you can check it out Friday, 7 p.m. Fox Local, Fox 6, Fox 6 YouTube channel, The Gales of November, the final voyage of the Edmund Fitzgerald. We're not at our final voyage just yet. We've got more Wisconsin weather experts right after the break. All right, welcome back, and I appreciate you watching the show today. If you're thinking to yourself, you know, I just have not had enough weather talk for one day. Well, if I got you covered, you can check out the latest edition of the Isobar, the highs and lows of meteorology. It's a regional podcast featuring myself, Chief Meteorologist Emily Wall down in Chicago, Chief Meteorologist Rich Ludeman out in Detroit, although Rich had a substitute because he is a veteran and was out supporting the veterans and planning some events for them. So we salute him for that and thank him for his service and all he continues to do. So you'll get to meet Stephanie Stephanie Mead from our Fox Detroit station. She did a great job filling in for Rich. So check it out. It's on YouTube and, of course, right here on Fox Local. And if you ever have any questions, you want to send us a picture, whatever you want to do, you can do that. Just click that QR code and send it to us. Or maybe you've got video of a bear, because it seems like we've got a lot of bear video lately. A bear got itself into quite the jam after breaking into a car in Colorado. Shocked owner called the sheriff, help him out with the furry bandit. The furry bandit was not so happy about the situation either. Deputies added a handle release mechanism to the car door and then slowly opened it to let the bear get out there and get back into the woods. Despite the damage to the inside of the car, the owners say they're just grateful for the deputies doing what they did. Oh my goodness, that video is creepy. All right, well, we will be back tomorrow. We'll see you here on Fox Local for another edition of the Wisconsin Weather Experts.